listening to Mouth Mentality, where we talk to everyday people about everyday food. Hello, and welcome to Mouth Mentality. I am your host, Chef Heidi Marsh. We talk to everyday people about everyday food, and oh my goodness, this is episode 10. Can you believe it? Thank you for following along with the chef class, all of you. And if you're just getting started, go back and start from the beginning. There's so much to hear about from me, from different colleagues, from everyday people about everyday food. On this episode, we're going to go through the day in the life of a personal chef, me, this guy, when I first started with the Overwatch League team, Philadelphia Fusion, professional esports guys. So we talked a little bit about this, I think, in part 2 of A Day in the Life. You know, we talked about what it was like to get a job like this. And it was so random. A guy who sells meat, Chef Greg, calls me up and he's like, hey, I got this thing and I think it's soccer. And I was like, cool, let's go. I got connected with the guys up in Burbank, California. And I went up and I did a tasting for this team, guys. And I show up and it's a gamer house. Bunch of dudes professionally playing and getting paid to play video games. In a game that I'd never even heard of, Overwatch League. I've never watched it. I never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. And I walked into this mansion, and it was totally decked out with all the players, gamer chairs, and the gamer screens, multi-screens, and headsets, and all the swag. And it was Philly Fusion. Never heard of them. Never knew anything about it. But what I did know going into it is I was going to be cooking for gamers from 9 different countries, ranging from ages 18 to 28. This whole thing was held together by Rostin Yu, the GM for Philly Fusion. He was the house manager, he was the house man, he was the house dad, and he was struggling. He was getting Postmates for 38 people, delivered cold, delivered gross, and these guys are just sick of eating out of boxes and bags. So they were looking for a chef. They were looking for the personal chef that was going to meet all their nutritional needs. And really, I think one of the key points that Rostin was looking for was someone that was going to help create a sense of community. He really wanted to bring that family element into the house. A lot of these guys, it was the first time ever leaving mom's house or the basement or wherever they crawled out of. And he was really wanting them not just to survive, but to thrive, to really bring that element of home into this house where they eat, sleep, game, work out, and play. I went in, I did my tasting, multicultural foods like patatas bravas and Korean short rib and, salad, which they didn't touch. And I brought in pastas and fresh veggies and really just kind of put out a smorgasbord for them. And I really wanted to kind of see what they were eating and bring them some fresh food. And I think, their faces lit up immediately. And you can tell a lot by the body language. And that's kind of how I rolled for a while, was just learning their body language. And that's how I decided what they liked and what they didn't like for a little while. When I got the job, I had 2 weeks to pack it up from San Diego and move up to Burbank, which was no sweat. I was really eager to start for these guys. And I didn't really have a plan. I didn't know the area. I didn't know where I was going to shop. I didn't really know what my menus were going to look like. And so I kind of just went off the cuff. For the first month or two, guys, I was waking up and just deciding that day, this is what I'm going to make. Literally, I would sit on my patio at 6:30, watch the sun come up, have a cup of coffee, and be like, this is what I'm going to make today. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find the things and I'm going to buy it all and I'm going to go make this stuff. And that's how I did my menuing for the first month or two. I just figured it out every day. Wrote my little list, went to the store, and threw down. And these guys were loving it. And they would not really tell me if they didn't like it. They didn't want to offend me, which was cool. I get it. But I wanted to know if they didn't like something, So Rostin was really supportive. He was really cool. He was like, look, they didn't really care for this. They didn't really care for that. They really loved this, So he would tell me what was up. After a while, I was able to kind of put together a weekly menu. This is what they're going to have this week, or this is what they're going to have for the next 2 weeks. And what was on the menu? 9 different countries. We had Israel, we had Spain, France, Korea, Switzerland, Finland. We have Vikings up in there, Fraggy. We had Canada, hey. And then we had Americans, people from Philly, people from Southern California, people from all over the country, pretty much, all up in this place. I mean, guys, we were filming content on site. The whole content creation was happening in the 3-car garage. Like, it was crazy up in there. There wasn't like a moment that there wasn't a camera flying around. Thanks a lot, Zach. He was awesome, though. He would always set me up and be like, I want to do this bit with you and like Joe Meister, and we're gonna like, what do you want to make? And I'm like, let's make ravioli. He's like got Italian roots and he's from Canada. Like, let's make lobster ravioli, let's go. And we were filming that lobster ravioli for hours. So I don't think that's probably one of those classes that you want to do a short content piece on, because it really took a long time. Another content piece we did was with Sato and Carpe, where we just deep fried Twinkies. Like, where in the world are you going to deep fry a Twinkie in Korea? Probably not. But I brought a little like that Minnesota State Fair presence, and I'm like, let's just, carefully, because, their hands are precious, deep fry some Twinkies in the middle of the kitchen. So we did that. We also did some grilling of short ribs with Hoon Maru. He was one of our academy players. We were out on the patio just using the beautiful grills out there. So content was a kind of an everyday thing. And, shout out to Zach Goldner. Like, man, he really got me comfortable with like being in front of the camera and just being prepared and doing those one-take wonders. Thanks, man. Going back to the menu, it was a challenge, and I really embraced that. I fully embraced the idea of fusion. And I also wanted to bring out authenticity in my dishes. I wanted to bring a taste of home to each and every one of the players when the time was right. And also kind of give them a sense of consistency and let them know what to expect. And then it was like, okay, I'm getting to know these guys. I'm getting to know what they like, what they don't like, what their goals are from a physical fitness standpoint. Learning the lay of the land in Burbank was a whole new thing for me. My first best friends were at Smart and Final down there on Verdugo. They saw me every day buying, $400 or $500 worth of groceries, loading my cart, and they're like, who is this person and what the heck is going on? And I just really got to know them, and they were there every day. My meat guy was in the meat department, my checkout girl was at the checkout, and we were just like homies through and through, and I bagged my own stuff, and I had my big Amazon bags that I used, and that's how I kept my muscles in shape. And I had to find fresh fish, and I'm like, we're right by the ocean, it should not be that hard. And I had my King's Fish guys over there in Glendale. Just, I'd show up, I have my Universal credit card, so I got the studio discount. I'm like, yes, get my 10% off. And I just call them up, be like, hey, you got this today? You got this today? I need like 20 pounds of clean salmon. What do you got? And they would tell me, chef, this isn't good. But usually it was like, we'll have it ready for you, chef. We'll have it ready. Like, they knew my voice when I called, and it was cool, but I didn't want to get too complicated. That's one thing I learned cooking for young video gamers was like, don't get too complicated. Don't overthink it. You don't need to make a 5-star meal every day for these guys. People don't eat that way, especially young gamers. They want their pastas. They want their meat. You got to find a way to sneak in the veggies, and I did, Snello. I got that kale pesto into your chicken Alfredo lasagna, and these guys were like, can you make this again? Can you, so they were really kind of coming out of their shell as I was coming into my own in the house. And I tell you, planning and shopping, it's a lot. It's a lot for a private chef when you have 38 different people from different places in the world. And I was really, really interested in learning Korean cooking. This was something I never really tackled. I had some experience with Thai and Japanese and Chinese, but not specifically Korean. So I leaned on Rostin a lot that first season and Hong Tran to just be like, what are good recipes? What are good websites? What's a good dish that like your mom would make? That's when Rostin he took me to the California market on 5th and Western. And guys, I'd never seen a grocery store with like an entire ramen aisle. I was just blown away. Beautiful produce department, beautiful fish department. You could get all of your marinated meats there, so I could buy them and cook them and taste them and kind of start to pick them apart. And dude, a kimchi bar, like all the different kimchis. And they had the kimchi lady there, and she was making it. And I started to make best friends with the cashiers there and the produce guys there, and I would go there once a week. Thursday night was K barbecue night for us. And I would go there and just get all kinds of stuff and really make a trip of it in the middle of the day. I had a lot of fun doing it. And I would try different things that I would not normally try. I would see things I would not normally see, which was like, I saw like this brick of like dried anchovies, guys. Like, it was like a 5-pound brick of dried anchovies. I'm like, what in the world? To each their own, right? No judgment. Totally cool. Just blew me away. You don't see that at the Safeway. You don't see that at the Ralph's or the Hy-Vee or whatever grocery stores in your neighborhood. So this was something special for a chef. I was really keeping my eyes open and looking around. And even to this day, when I go to that market or any market, I want to keep my eyes open, look around, see what's new, get inspired, and have a little fun. So like the details of private chefing, like this kitchen was spectacular. It was a breeze to cook in. I had double gas ovens, 8-burner stove, massive kitchen island to work with, and a beautiful grill outside, all gas powered, big refrigerator, big freezer. I even got a second fridge for season 2, just because the guys have a lot of juices and snacks and things they like to keep on hand. You gotta have space. They had a massive snack pantry. What an efficient chef's kitchen, right? Double dishwashers. Generally, every morning I start out the day just cutting fruit. I cut fresh fruit every day for my clients. I think it's important to have fresh cut fruit, a big bowl of it on hand, because I think we as Americans in general, people are kind of lazy, and like we won't go for the whole pineapple and just like try to take a bite out of it. Like you don't want to wash your strawberries and your blueberries and pick your grapes, and like we're lazy, right? So I take that pressure off the fresh fruiting and just have a big bowl of it ready for all my clients. It's a healthy thing to start your day out with. It promotes digestion. It brings a lot of those enzymes and phytonutrients into your body so you're ready for a big meal. I mean, nutrition aside, timing is everything. My protein is first. It takes the longest, right? And I always do my protein prep separate of any prep because I don't want to cross-contaminate the juices. So get my protein, whether it's marinating or, seasoned out, get it ready, get it in the oven or get it ready for the grill. And then I move on to my base, which is either, rice. You guys, I have had some of the biggest rice cookers in my entire life. And me and the rice cooker, man, we used to fight. I fought with that rice cooker for 2 seasons. Time to time, I still fight, but I'm finally finesse with the rice cooker. We are homies now. You have to remember to turn it on or plug it in. But it was really kind of getting used to the rice types and the soaking and the rinsing and like the measurements and going with what works and try again. But yeah, so like protein first, then the starches, and then all my fresh veggies. And I always do my veggies last because I want them to be bright and crisp, not overcooked. And I don't want to be sitting around getting cold and gross. A lot of grilling. I did Juicy Lucy's out on the grill, giant sandwiches. I did giant burritos. These guys would eat breakfast food, so I would do omelets, Benedicts, tostaditos. Man, I did so much different food for these guys, especially for the first 2 months, because I was just seeing what they liked and what they didn't like. And then as I got a rhythm going, then I have my regular offerings, right? Tuesday is gonna be taco day. These guys would smash some tacos. Game day was always giant subs. I'd go to Portos and I'd get these 6-foot long Cuban bun and make just massive hoagies for them, and then I'd whack them all up and put them on a tray and send them to the game with them, but they looked beautiful, just stacked with all kinds of Italian meats and lettuce and tomatoes and olives and seasonings and bacon. And these guys were into it, man. They were down for it. And then I had my special no tomato guy. I had my no nothing but meat guy. I had my no pork guy. So you have to keep in consideration the preferences of each individual as you're going along and doing it. It's not always everything is the same. Even to this day, I'm these are the chicken and cheese ones. These are the ones with those and everything else on them. Don't be afraid to just don't single them out, but also like adjust and pivot and make it approachable to everybody. After you're kind of learning like about the food culture, then it was really time to like get into the game culture. Like, what is this game they're playing? How does this work? I had to start watching it and just like trying to figure it out kind of on my own and through Discord. Thank you very much, everybody on Discord, because I could see like what was going on, and the casters really just like listening to the game would like kind of guide me to what the heck is actually happening. And I got to meet these casters and I got to like hang out, and like the gaming culture and community is so diverse and accepting and just like a joyful bunch of people, like just funny. There's so much talent and humor in this culture. Like the players are serious, but also fun. And then like the whole community that's around and supports this game are just outrageously awesome. Getting past learning the game and like what all that meant and like what is the goal of the game, and then just like the people behind it too. I just felt really supported in my role as a chef, and I wanted to know more about the game. I started tweeting a little bit, and the next thing you know, my tweeter, it went from 0 to 5,000. It seemed like overnight. It took months, but I just kept tweeting and being consistent because people want to know what these guys are eating. They want to know like what's happening, why are they doing so well, like who are you, deep frying Twinkies and doing weird stuff in this house. And immediately I think it had a lot to do with like Fusion's placement in the game, and they announced me as the chef. And I happened to look like Moira, one of the players. They made this whole emoji of me as Chef Moira right away. And I just went with it. I'm like, I accept that. I totally accept. I'm a healer, guys. Like, I'm going to nourish you and sustain you, and let's get in the game and let's go. There's just like so much that goes along with this game. The swag, the clothes. You guys, for the first time in my chef career, I was like cooking in board shorts and flip-flops. I would get decked out with cool Philly shirts and snapbacks and jackets, and Hung Tran would just be like, check this out, try this on, you should have this, you need that. Just really embracing the culture, and the next thing you know, I was getting fan art. I had one of the fans draw me up this cool pictogram here, and it's me, Chef Heidi, in my black outfit. I'm like actually wearing chef clothes in this. It's kind of funny because I did not dress in chefy things every day. I didn't even wear a chef coat. Like, they made me my own Philly chef coat that I would wear on special occasions. She's got me like surrounded by eggs and kebabs and tomatoes and leaves and breads, and I think that was a hot dog or a hamburger. No, it was a hamburger. I mean, what cool fans we have in the game. Just amazing. And just interacting with the fans. What a huge blessing to be a part of this community, and I just felt immediately welcomed and immediately endorsed by the fan community. We got to the finals and the semifinals and the playoffs and all that, and there was a moment where they were playing like that game that was like going to determine if they went to grand finals in New York City. And so I'm watching this game, as I watched every game, frantically peeling the potatoes, and it got down to that last map, and I like went and I sat down on the couch and I was watching, because I had to just like stop everything because I felt like this was it. This is like the moment, right? And they won. And I like laughed and screamed. I'm the only person in this massive mansion, and I'm laughing and screaming and crying, and I'm like, oh my God, this is happening for them. And I was so proud of them, so proud of the team and all the work that they did, so proud of Roston, so proud of everybody that just like contributed to the wellness, and proud of myself too. I can take a little credit for getting them to eat their kale pesto. I feel like their mental game was on point, and they freaking pushed it. I was just elated, and I couldn't wait for them to get home, but I knew that things were going to be delayed, because after you win something big like that, like there's all the talking and the interviews and the fans and the yay and everything going on. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to calm it down and be consistent like always, because win or lose, I was always there to say, well played, no matter what, here's your beautiful meal that I prepared for you. And this time I was like, no matter what, you guys are going to the finals. This is great. And then ping, I got an email from Joe Marsh, not my dad, but my boss, inviting me to go to New York. He said, thank you for all your hard work, everything you've done. We'd like to invite you as a gift to come to New York to see the grand finals. And I was like, let's go. This is so cool. I never had like this like desire to go to New York, but to see them and like experience that with them, I was like, let's do it. Let's go. I'm down. I made arrangements and I went to stay in New York with the team and the content team. And they're like, you're not working. You're just here for the ride. The fans, they organized a big brunch. I don't even know. It was like a bar, but it was like outside. Like they went through a lot of work to organize this. And people had like jerseys with like Chef Heidi LA that they made because they didn't have like a gamer tag of me for the jerseys, and like MVP. And this was the first time, like, I felt like a star, in my own right, along with the team. I felt a part of a team. Then I really started to feel like this gaming thing was massive, walking down the street and people are like, yo, selfie, and people were paparazziing me from the stadium. Like, they could see me down on the floor and, like, you could see me on Twitter and I'm, like, down there and I'm like, whoa, who's that, And when that stadium filled up with all of those people, and I turned around and looked at how full it was, I just couldn't believe that this was like real. Like this was like me going to the Beyonce concert and like all of the fans are there, but this is for a game. This is for a game, and everyone's dressed up in the cosplay, rocking all their swag. My core fans from LA were there. Shout out to Alex Parrish, just hanging out in the front row, getting down. Another one. So much going on. I remember walking through like the halls in the stadium and like this girl was like falling down screaming, Chef Heidi LA! And I was like, I felt like Elvis Presley for a second. And I was like, it's okay. I gave her a hug. I'm like, we're people too. It's cool. It's cool. Taking selfies, having fun. It was crazy. I still get like so emotional thinking about that week and that experience, like one of the most memorable times of my life. Then they took second in the whole deal. They did not win the one, and the season was done. And the guys were going on break and they were going home and I was on break and I was like, well, now what do I do? And I did some health retreats and I did some local things because what does one do in LA? So in the fall, before season 2 kicks off, they have this thing called BlizzCon. And I'd heard about BlizzCon from my brother. BlizzCon, I'm going to BlizzCon. So my brother Lyle, he's a gamer. I'd never really been to or heard of BlizzCon other than his deal. And I got invited to go to Blizzard campus for the first time in my life. I'm like, well, cool. Chef Moira's going to BlizzCon. So I put on my lab coat and spray painted my hair orange and I went in cosplay to BlizzCon and I learned about all the different games and it's like this convention for gaming, and I got cool gamer BlizzCon freebies and I sent those home to my brother Lyle. I'm like, guess what? I'm at BlizzCon, and I was doing the selfies and meeting other cosplayers and just having fun, meeting fans. Even walking the Blizzard campus was like an unreal thing. Like they had their own cafeteria, massive statuettes of the game players and just touring the facilities. And like they give these guys like swords and stuff when they have anniversaries, like super cool. They had their own Starbucks there. Like what a neat place to work. Next thing you know, it's November and they asked me back to come and cook for season 2. And I'm like, let's go. And season 2 is a little more condensed. They brought down the number of players on the roster. The house was smaller, so we even had more of a family feel. Even Dave Scott himself from Comcast Spectacor got a menu approved and came and had lunch for us. And I had to Michelin it up for that adventure. But he said it was the best steak he ever had. So what's up, David Scott? And as always, Tucker would come through. Joe Marsh would come through. Rostanew was holding down the fort. And then we had this thing called Uni House. It was about a mile away. And you guys, talk about walking into a gamer house. It was like walking into a frat house every time I would do a drop off. So I would make all the food for the house, and then I would pack all this food for the uni house, and I'd bring it over there. And then it was like, I probably should take out the trash or something for these guys. Like they were living like dudes, man. It was a bro house. And I would just clean up a little bit. I mean, it wasn't my job, but it doesn't matter, right? Like for me, at the end of the day, it's about every service I can provide. And definitely want to keep these guys healthy. And they are the next, they're the next big players in line. So got to keep it right and tight. Time to time, they would come for like big barbecues and stuff at the main house, come and do scrims and things like that. I can't tell you, man. These guys, this world is unlike any other world from a chef's point of view. As a private chef, you have many outlets, clientele, dinner parties, different levels of cooking. Even more so nowadays, I think COVID's opened up this whole world for meal prep and meal delivery and healthy eating and healthy lifestyle. But cooking for gamers is like a totally weird, funky world. And when people ask me what I do, I'm like, yeah, I cook for gamers. They're just like, what? That's a thing? Most people don't even know it's a thing. But I'm here to tell you guys, it's an everyday thing that I do. And this was how it started. Like, I would not change it for the world. Like, if you would have told me 10 years ago I'd be cooking for gamers, I'd be like, yeah, right, no way. I thought I'd still be slogging away at some restaurant somewhere. And I asked the universe for something different, and it gave me something totally different. With Fusion, it was a lifelong memories that I would never trade for anything else on this world. I am still grateful every day for that experience. It's so nostalgic thinking about it, and it really set me up for what I do today. And we're gonna talk to you guys in part 2 of A Day in the Life of Gamer Chefing with Team Liquid. I can't wait to tell you more about it. Thank you for listening to Mouth Mentality. We talk to everyday people about everyday food. Ta-ta for now. Thank you for listening to Mouth Mentality. Catch us when we dish out the next story.